Let's get this show going. Friday is here. Finally, Friday is being brought to you this week by Major Spoilers VIP and Patreon members from around the world. If you enjoy these conversations, you want to see more things continue, you want to see a small company grow, fight off those bad guys, take money out of Jeff Bezos' pocket, and become a patron today at patreon.com/Major Spoilers. Oh man, it is Friday. Happy Friday, just got home, says Pleasant Doom. Glad to have you there. So is Malone and Kevin 11 and so many other cool people who are in the chat room today. TGIF indeed, Vince 4044. Hope you're having a good Friday. It's Star Wars weekend, right? Is everybody excited for the Star Wars? I might be able to go see a Star Wars this weekend if I get all my other work done. Took the boy, oh no, not the boy, the sidekick, to his karate. Now, he's only been in karate less than a year. I'm going to brag. I'm going to be a dad for a minute. Took the sidekick to his karate annual Christmas party that they've been doing for, I don't know, 20 years or more. I didn't want to go to that, but that's a different story. But every month they give out a Student of the Month award, a nice little trophy that the student gets to take home for doing good work. And at the end of the year, they award a Student of the Year. And this year, the sidekick just happened to get the Student of the Year award, and I was pretty proud of him. Malone says, I just came back from RPG night. I'll talk more about next week's. I'll talk more about that uncomfortableness of going to a place where I know nobody next week. But I know a lot of people are heading out to the Star Wars. I'm going to try to go to see a Star Wars this weekend. Not hearing great reviews, a lot of mixed reviews. I think Mandalorian is probably getting better reviews than Rise of Skywalker. But if you didn't know, Lucasfilm, the company that makes the Star Wars, they got sold to Disney a couple of years ago. Billions of dollars. They've already recouped those billions of dollars Disney has. So it's, money in their pocket now. No matter what Disney does with Star Wars, they're just going to make money and make money and make money. And that got me thinking we need to finish up the conversation about the Department of Justice doing away with the vertical integration, Sherman Antitrust Act against the movie industry. We've talked about this for 3 Fridays in a row. And it all seems to come back around to Disney, because Disney seems to be the one that is benefiting the most from this. And it got me really thinking in the last couple of weeks about that Disney-Fox deal, where Disney bought 20th Century Fox. They bought Marvel Studios. They bought Lucasfilm. They've now purchased 20th Century Fox. And one of the things that did, and I know that this was a topic of conversation when the Fox deal was going through, what do we do with that Hitler movie? Jojo Rabbit, a 20th Century Fox movie from Taika Waititi. It's about a Hitler youth and all the things that he is going through as a Hitler youth, and his imaginary friend is Adolf Hitler. How do you, a Disney company, how do you deal with releasing something that could be potentially as controversial as Hitler? Or what do we do with Deadpool? Deadpool, a 20th Century Fox X-Men thing, an R-rated movie that did gangbusters at the box office. And now the fate of Deadpool is up in the air. And again, I'm pretty sure Disney execs know this stuff, but maybe it's, every once in a while they should shuffle back through their papers and see what kind of holdings they have. Let's go all the way back to 1980, actually 1979. When Disney was not doing very well at the box office, at the time in the 80s, if you were a child of the 80s, you know that movies like Bachelor Party, Porky's 2, Porky's 3, Revenge of the Nerds, you had a lot of raunchy comedies, and you had a lot of adult-oriented movies hitting the theaters. Almost seems like a backlash from the good old days of the 50s and 60s and early 70s. But suddenly, after the MPAA basically did away with the Hays Code and introduced the ratings system, all of the worry about censorship was pushed out to parents. But Disney had gotten this stigma that they were family-oriented kiddie movies. And in the late 70s and early 80s, as more and more adult-themed and raunchy comedies are starting to hit the movie theaters, Disney saw their audiences go away. Nobody wanted to go see a kiddie movie. And if you don't believe me, go look at your Disney Plus subscription right now and go look at the archives, the vault, the Disney vault, and look at all the movies that populate that area, and look at how many of them are G. So Disney said, okay, if the Star War is so popular, why don't we release our own Star War in the form of the Black Hole in 1979? Our first PG movie with parental guidance attached to it. Now, this was still a Walt Disney picture. Didn't do so well. I mean, it did okay, but it didn't do the gangbusters Disney was hoping. It didn't do the Star War money. Then they had The Watcher in the Woods. They also had Condor Man in 1981. If you want to hear more about Condor Man, Matthew and I did a bonus tracks over there at patreon.com/major spoilers, where you can play that movie and you can listen to our commentary track along with it. Heads up, didn't hold up very well. 1981 did not hold up very well in 2018. They did Night Crossing. They also did Tron, a PG movie. But there were some nervous Nellies sitting there at the Walt Disney HQ going, oh my gosh, we don't want to dilute our brand of wholesome family entertainment with this black hole or these Trons that are running around. What will people think? Gasp! And so Disney's solution to this was, let's form and release these movies under a different movie studio branding. And so in 1984, Ron W. Miller launched Touchstone Films, which later turned into Touchstone Pictures after the release of Ruthless People. But the first film that ever came out of Touchstone Pictures was Splash, the mermaid film with Tom Hanks and Daryl Hannah. Had some side boob. Had a guy falling in love with a fish lady. But Touchstone Films, to many people, they didn't know that it was Disney. They just saw Touchstone Pictures, the little black circle with the little gold going across it, so you know that it was good. And for years, Touchstone Pictures operated with, I would say, most of the general audiences, most of Americans, most people worldwide not knowing that Touchstone Pictures was the same thing as Walt Disney Studios. But this is where Disney could start experimenting with and releasing movies under that PG, PG-13, and starting to push into R territory. Now, there are a lot of films that have been released under the Touchstone title. Some of these you may remember: Beaches, for example, The Color of Money, Good Morning Vietnam, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Dead Poets Society, Pretty Woman, Sister Act, The Royal Tannenbaums, Sweet Home Alabama, Down and Out in Beverly Hills. All these released under Touchstone Pictures. In fact, if you don't know what a touchstone is, in olden days, when you wanted to see if something was really gold, you had this touchstone and you would rub a piece of gold on it, and if it was real gold, it would rub off on this rock, on this touchstone. And so you knew it was gold. So kind of clever studio naming right there. Oh, hey, everything that we release under Touchstone Pictures turns to gold. And there are some great winners there, some Academy Award winners right there. Then people started to get the idea, oh yeah, Touchstone Pictures is really Walt Disney Pictures. Jerry Bruckheimer released Con Air and Armageddon, Enemy of the State, Gone in 60 Seconds, Pearl Harbor, all under that Touchstone Picture banner. But yeah, you know, people started to figure out what was going on. Now, Disney doesn't release anything under Touchstone Pictures now. I forget what the last film that they released was. I want to say something in 2015. May have only been 2011, 2012. I'm looking at 2012. I'm seeing Lincoln and, 2014, King Arthur and Need for Speed were 2014 releases from Touchstone Pictures. But they really haven't done anything with that studio since, with that branding since. Because again, I don't know, raise your hand, audience members, if you knew that Touchstone Pictures was really Walt Disney Pictures releasing more adult-oriented movies without people knowing that it was really Walt Disney. Go ahead, raise your hands. We'll wait. But what happens if you're Disney and you want to release R-rated movies? PG-13, pretty good. A little bit of R, okay. But what happens if you want to release R-rated movies? What happens if you want to test out new directors and give them a chance to do something and not mess up the Touchstone Pictures brand? Right? Remember, everything that Touchstone releases turns to gold. What happens if you want to test out a new person and not ruin the Disney name or the Touchstone Pictures name? What happens if you want to release an R-rated movie? Strokes the beards and scratches the heads at Disney. How about we launch a new movie studio? This one called Hollywood Pictures. Now, this is one that launched, I want to say their first, they incorporated in 1984, but their first movie release, I remember seeing this because I was down and working for Disney in 1990 when Arachnophobia arrived in theaters. Only thing I remember about that is Spiders #1 and John Candy stepping on not John Candy, what's his name? The guy from Roseanne stomping on a bunch of spiders and the spiders ultimately getting him. So the idea behind, Hollywood Pictures, Dick Tracy, I believe, also launched under Hollywood Pictures. Hollywood Pictures did not have as much success. Yeah, John Goodman, that's who it is. Thank you. They didn't have as much success, but you probably recognize some of these movies. Run, for example. One Good Cop, V.I. Warshawski. Straight Talk, Encino Man. Born Yesterday, Guilty as Sin. Fatherhood, The Joy Luck Club, probably their biggest success. Tombstone, The Air Up There. Let's see, Terminal Velocity, The Puppet Masters, House Guest, Roommates, Funny Bones, Judge Dredd. Oh, Judge Dredd released under that Hollywood Pictures banner. I am the law. G.I. Jane. Last film that Touchstone Pictures released was The Invisible, distributed through Spyglass Entertainment. Grosse Point Blank, you probably know that one. But again, people didn't know that Hollywood Pictures was Walt Disney Studios. And today, when you look at a movie, I forget what is Christopher Nolan's Syncope? I think that's his title. And you see these at the start of now every trailer now, like 15 different studios involved in a movie. There's the main one and everybody else attached to it. But you would see a Hollywood Pictures come up or a Touchstone Pictures come up, and you're like, we know what kind of movie to expect from this. And then again, Hollywood Pictures, people kind of figured out, again, raise your hands if you knew that Hollywood Pictures was owned by Disney. You probably didn't. And many of you are saying that you didn't know that Touchstone Pictures was a Disney studio. And this gets to my point that I'm trying to get at, is that, yes, we know that Marvel Studios is owned by Disney. Yes, we know that Lucasfilm is owned by Disney. Yes, we now know that Fox is owned by Disney. But how many of you know that Disney owns 100% of Hulu right now? They own 100% of Hulu. People are still saying that they don't, but with that Fox merger complete, The Fox portion of Hulu is now owned by Disney as well, and Disney already had the majority stake at Hulu. Here's the thing, people probably do know that Fox and Disney are the same thing, are the same company now. But I think Disney needs to take a step back, and when they scratch their head and say, oh, what do we do about this Hitler movie? Or when they take a step back and they say, oh my gosh, what are we going to do about Deadpool? We can't release an R-rated Deadpool movie because we're Disney. We're family-oriented programming. No, scratch that out of your language. If you want Walt Disney Studios to be kid-friendly fare, then everything you release with that Walt Disney Studios name, make it your G-rated, PG-rated movies. Everything released under Star Wars is always going to come out of Lucasfilm. It's not going to come out of Marvel Studios. It's not going to come out of Touchstone Pictures. It's going to come out of Lucasfilm. All the Marvel movies, presuming from now on, will probably be coming out of Marvel Studios. So why then does a Deadpool movie or a Hitler movie, why does that then have to come out with the Disney banner? It doesn't. 20th Century Fox should still operate with the 20th Century Fox name. Let the public believe that there is a studio out there that is still operating called 20th Century Fox. Most of us don't know where that money ultimately ends up. We talked about box office distribution a couple of months ago and how the box office, the movie studio, makes its money. 20th Century Fox, yeah, some people might know it, but I guarantee you in 5 years, people aren't going to know the difference between 20th Century Fox and Walt Disney Studios. So release your scary movies, release your Alien movies, release your Predator movies, release your Deadpool movies under that 20th Century Fox banner. Let them be R. Let them be NC-17. Let your Frozen 4s and your Frozen 23s come out under Disney. Let your Incredibles 14 come out under Pixar, or I guess I should say Toy Story 14, come out under Pixar. Everybody knows what Pixar means. Pixar has a meaning in our minds. How many of you knew that, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 25 years ago, that Disney bought and owned Pixar? The only reason why you probably know that the two are so attached to one another is because so many of Disney's 3D movies today look like Pixar movies. Frozen and Brave, they look like Pixar movies. Now they're probably using similar technology. John Lasseter was the head of both of those for a while. But Pixar has a connotation. Pixar has a name. Disney has a name. Yes, 20th Century Fox also has a name and an expectation. And we're not too smart people. Remember what I talked about, I think this started 4 episodes of Finally Friday ago, which was 6 or 7 weeks ago. Those who don't study history are doomed to repeat history, and we are going to forget very, very quickly that Disney owns Fox. So Disney needs to take this opportunity now and say, yes, go ahead, R-rated movies. We want to fill that gap. We want to fill that niche that we are not fulfilling. We need that R-rated movie money. What are we going to do with the adult-themed cartoons? Are we going to take them off the air? No, we're going to put them over on Hulu. People aren't going to know. People aren't going to care. So I laugh when I read I think it was a Variety, probably Hollywood Reporter, article about Disney in a conundrum about what they were going to do with the Jojo Rabbit movie. What do we do with Hitler? Release it under 20th Century Fox. Release it under the banner that it was being produced under. No one's going to care. No one's going to know. And you certainly are not going to get a million moms clucking their tongues and threatening to boycott Disney because they released an R-rated movie under a 20th Century Fox banner, or a Hollywood Pictures banner, or a Touchstone Pictures banner. Because the minute that a million moms say we're not doing anything Disney, that's going to last 30 seconds when their kids start to have a conniption fit about not being able to watch Disney Plus, not being able to go to certain stores and buy certain goods because it's all owned by Disney. That'll last 30 seconds, I guarantee you. Disney has nothing to worry about right now about boycotts. So, what do we do about Deadpool? Business as usual, man. Make movies, Make money. That's all you got to do. All restaurants are Taco Bell, says Mark Smith. I suppose to an extent. I mean, there's back in the late 80s, early 90s, you started to see a series of stores pop up that were both that inside the store, and I think they've only narrowed it down to like 2 now, where you would have a Pizza Hut, a Taco Bell, and a KFC all in the same building, right? It was almost like a cafeteria that you would see at a mall, and you could go and have your Taco Bell or your Pizza Hut or your KFC, and we called it the Kintaco Hut. Because it was all 3 of those together, and you say, well, why would all 3 of those companies put themselves under the same roof? Because they're all owned by the same company. Or at least they were. I don't know if they are still now, but I would presume they're all owned by PepsiCo. So, yeah. If you don't make a big deal out of it, people aren't going to know. Disney was never really good at diversifying their brand, says Wayward Boy. It's all Disney everything, and that is when the chicken comes home to roost if you suddenly evolve in the entertainment kraken after 80 years of branding everything Disney. Yes, I mean, that is kind of, I think I see what you're saying. But yes, Disney thinks that everything has to have the Disney name on it, so people know. It's kind of like, you know, a dog when it pees on its territory. It's got to let everyone know that this is my territory, but you don't have to. I mean, look at a certain person with universities and steaks and vodkas and all that stuff. Had to put that name all over everything so people knew what it was. And it ultimately kind of degraded the brand. Well, it was already degraded to begin with, but... let's see. Now I want some chips and queso. And maybe go on a quest. Popeye's, Burger King, a lot of these things. That is a reference to the Demolition Man. Which one is that? The Popeyes and Burger King? Because Kintaco Hut is a real thing. So there you go. That is kind of a look at the Department of Justice and how this thing has kind of blown out of proportion. Well, hasn't been blown out of proportion, but I think you guys need to know. That this stuff is a lot more tied together than you think it is. That you probably ought to pay attention to. What does Disney own? You can go and there's a good, let me see if I can, chart of what Disney owns. Let me pull this up. You guys have probably seen this before. This is a really great graphic. Let's flip over to the website side. Boop, boop, boop. Here is a chart. Now, this is not updated as of the 20th Century Fox deal, but you can go in and see all of the assets that Disney owns worldwide. And if you haven't looked at this, you probably should, just so you know where your entertainment and where your stuff is coming from. We've talked about the nostalgia. We've talked about the, Sphero is owned by Disney only because of BB-8. And this, of course, has just grown in size over the years. Here's Hulu. So, yeah, definitely make sure you know. I mean, it's good to know what corporations own. So that when, Fox comes out and says, hey, we're releasing this R-rated movie, and someone from Disney says, well, Disney does not release R-rated films, you can say, yes, but 20th Century Fox is owned by Disney, ergo, et cetera, et cetera. But for the general public, I give it 3 years. 3 years. Maybe not even 3 years. 3 years from now. But by 2024, for sure, you could probably go up to somebody on the street and say, true or false, I'm going to give you 3 studios and you tell me if Disney owns them. And you can say Marvel, Lucasfilm, and 20th Century Fox. And I guarantee you, people will say, oh, well, yes, I know about Marvel and I know about Lucasfilm. 20th Century Fox, no, that's still its own thing. Unless, of course, Disney starts making a big deal out of the fact that they own it. Looks like a lot of minds are blown. Disney owns your sneakers, probably. Probably. Look at the list. Now, that's just a graphic that somebody had come up with a couple of years ago. Like I said, this is before the 20th Century Fox deal went through, but you can go and do a list of assets owned by Disney. So again, here's the Wikipedia page on the assets owned by Disney. And it's a long list. You can also see some of their former assets. Miramax used to be owned by Disney. You know, that one was sold... when was that sold? That was sold after Kevin Smith. That was sold after Clerks. Dimension Films, all the Weinstein stuff. Weinstein bought Miramax back. Oh, God, I forgot what year that was. Disney used to own Power Rangers, then sold it back to Saban, which is now owned by Hasbro. You can go through this whole list. It's fascinating to see. Here are their Chinese holdings. Here are their venture capitalist holdings. Here are their property holdings. I'm just in Germany. Scrolling back. There's the Asia Pacific. I'm not even halfway through this page. This is everything that Disney owns. As of right now. A&E, ESPN, Disney Media Networks, Nat Geo, Marvel Studios, Disney Nature, Fox Searchlight, blah, 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 blah. But the good thing is now you know. Now you have a little history. And now you've armed yourself for the next time that this comes around and you start hearing rumblings about a certain studio wanting to buy a movie theater chain, and you'll know why this can be a bad thing. Or why it might be a good thing. Maybe it will be good. Who knows? Probably not, though. The more one person owns something, the less diversity you get, which again brings us right back around to the topic of this episode. What do we do with Deadpool? Because it has to all be this one cookie cutter brand. So there you go. Next week, I want to thank everybody for being part of Major Spoilers Experience this week. We should be back on the 27th. Next Friday, we'll do our post-Christmas show and our pre-2020 show just for you. I hope you found this week's episode entertaining, enlightening, valuable to you in some way, shape, or form. If you didn't, just let me know too. If you want to see this show continue and you want to support everything that we do here at the Major Spoilers, right there, I see Kevin 11 is dropping the tags there in the chat, but head over to patreon.com/majorspoilers. You know, give yourself a gift of $5 a month at patreon.com/majorspoilers, and you get so much extra content. Multiple exclusive podcasts, and I can guarantee you that there are going to be more exclusive podcasts hitting the Patreon feed in 2020. There's at least three separate gaming shows that we have recorded that are Patreon exclusive only that I just need to edit and release. So be on the lookout for that in 2020 from Major Spoilers. If you are a VIP or a Patreon member at the gold level or higher, don't forget this weekend, Saturday, which is what, the 21st, Saturday, December 21st, 1 o'clock p.m. Central Time, we do the monthly VIP live chat. That is where you can come in and find out what's going on behind the scenes at Major Spoilers. We talk a lot of business stuff, how a company operates, things that that we have going for us. It's the year. This is our our December year-end show. So I probably will have some data on what we've done in 2019. Probably I'll save that whole thing till 2020, until January. But I'll have a rundown of things that we did, some highs, some lows. I think Brian is for sure going to be here. Matthew will probably be here as well as we run through this stuff. Yeah, so we've got that going on for VIPs and patrons, gold level and higher this weekend on Saturday. Hope to see you there. If you missed it, oh man, we did the GM Roundtable, the first episode of that this week. If you are a patron at the $5 and higher level, you have access to that monthly conversation live And if you miss it, it'll come up a week or two later. And then in about 3 or 4 months, we'll release it on to the general public. So there you go. All right. Let us take another long look at a list of things as we look at the awesome people who made this show possible. I hope everyone has a happy holiday. I hope you get everything that you want for Christmas. And I hope we see you back again next week when it's finally Friday. Take care, everybody. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom.